Everyone always talks about oils and vitamins when it comes to hair growth, and don't get me wrong, those things can definitely play a role, but they are not the game changers that actually made the biggest difference in my hair. So I have literally been through every single phase. I have tried supplements using every single oil under the sun, hoping that somehow my hair would just magically grow faster than my body allows. But the truth is, your hair is already growing at the rate that it is genetically programmed to. The real secret to long and healthy hair is not about speeding up growth. It is about protecting the length that you already have so that you don't lose it to breakage. And I feel like that is the part that no one really talks about. Most people overlook the small daily habits that either make or break your hair. And these are not the flashy hacks that you see plastered all over social media, okay? But they are just the things that quietly determine whether your hair actually gets long or whether you keep trimming it back because it looks damaged and you have split ends. So over the years, I have realized that these little habits and tools are really what has allowed me to finally keep my length, to stop obsessing over constant trims, and to actually be able to grow my hair out without it looking damaged at the ends. So today I'm going to share the healthy hair growth tips that no one talks about, but people absolutely should. So these are the tips that made the biggest difference for me. And I feel like once you start doing them, you are going to notice a huge difference in how your hair holds on to length. So the first tip, pre-shampoo oiling on the ends. Now, one thing that almost no one mentions is oiling your ends before shampooing. And honestly, it is one of the most underrated habits if you are trying to grow your hair out. And this is why. Okay, so every time that you wet your hair, the cuticle swells as water moves in and out of the hair strand. And when that happens, protein and moisture escape. And over time, your ends, which are the oldest and most fragile part of your hair, get weaker and then start to split. And that is why people feel like they never get past a certain length. It is not that their hair isn't growing. It is that the ends keep breaking off at the same rate. So when you coat your ends with a heavier oil before shampooing, like coconut oil, OGX argan oil, a blended oil, you are creating a protective barrier that reduces that protein loss. So coconut oil in particular is small enough on a molecular level to penetrate the strand and actually reinforce it from the inside out. Other oils are just going to sit on the outside and smooth the cuticle, which isn't bad, but coconut oil is really special in that way. Either way, you are reducing the amount of water that gets exposed to the inside of your hair. This isn't necessarily a bad thing. Either way, you are reducing the stress that water exposure can put on the ends of your hair. The result is simple but powerful: less breakage, fewer split ends, and hair that actually looks like it is growing faster because you are no longer cutting inches of damage every few months. Thank you to Dreame for partnering with me on this video and supporting my channel to bring to you guys one of the biggest hair growth tips that literally no one talks about. A lot of people assume that curling your hair automatically equals damage, so they just avoid doing it altogether. But the truth is, it is not curling itself that is the problem. It is the tools and the amount of heat that you are exposing your hair to that is the problem. So if you are constantly using extreme heat, you are basically undoing all of the progress that you have made towards growth. But when you use the right kind of tools, your hair can actually stay healthy while looking styled. You can get shiny, bouncy curls without having to sacrifice the long-term potential of your hair. And that is exactly why I have been using the Dreame AirStyle Pro. So this is a 7-in-1 styler. It is powered by 110,000 revolutions per minute jet airflow motor, which is seriously powerful, you guys, but also it is gentle, okay? Instead of blasting your hair with one harsh heat setting, it dries and styles at the same exact time so that you can even use it on damp hair and keep it moisturized instead of stripping it. Now, the 7 easy to swap attachments mean that I can create a ton of different salon looks at home, and it feels way smoother. It feels less damaging than using regular hot tools. Now, my favorite attachment is the auto wrap barrel because it literally does all the work for you. It grabs your hair in 1 second, it wraps it automatically, and then it sets the curl with a cool shot. There is no twisting, there is no clamping, there is way less breakage compared to traditional curling irons, which what more could you ask? The volumizing brush, this adds instant lift at the roots. The flyaway attachment smooths everything down at the end so that the style looks polished, so that it looks sleek and finished without me having to run over it again and again. The Dreame honestly reminds me of the Dyson Airwrap, but it is a fraction of the price while still giving the same polished, long-lasting result. The Dyson is over $600, you guys. Brace yourselves. Meanwhile, the Dreame is just over $200. The result is smooth, shiny, frizz-free hair that looks like a salon blowout, but healthier, which is literally the whole point if you are trying to grow out your hair. So with the right tool, with the right routine, your hair can stay healthy and glossy while still looking cute. And for the fall Prime Day sale, you're going to get up to 40% off. Use my link and code below for extra savings. Check it out if you want a healthier routine with different styling looks. I think the most commonly asked question that I get on my videos is, my hair is so frizzy, my hair is so dry, what do I do to fix it? What a lot of people don't understand is a lot of times that dry appearance, the frizzy appearance is really just damage. If you think of that one person who has long hair but the ends just look like straw, that is who I'm talking about. Now this trick is for them. Is their hair long? Yes, it is long, but it doesn't look healthy. So at that point, it's like, what is even the point in having long hair? You need a freaking trim. This step really will change the game for you. If you haven't done it yet, I honestly don't understand why. It is the easiest thing and super affordable too, because a lot of the oils that you can use for this step are literally under $5. Another little hack here is the importance of finding an oil, if you don't want to use coconut oil, that has silicones. Just because it's called oiling doesn't mean you need to use something that is super natural. Actually, I think a lot of oils that have silicones are better for your hair than the natural oils. So don't be afraid of those like artificial oils. Just because they're artificial doesn't mean they're bad. They're actually amazing for your hair. They're going to protect the ends while you shampoo, while your hair is wet, which is going to be a game changer in terms of retaining the length. Another tip that I really feel like no one talks about is the importance of scalp care. Now, people talk about it, but not in the right way. Your scalp is skin, and just like your face, it needs to stay clean and balanced in order for hair to grow well. So gentle exfoliation with a scalp scrub, massage with oil, or even a shampoo with exfoliating properties in it can really create the best environment for growth. If your scalp is healthy, your hair has a much better chance of thriving and growing in a healthy way. So the next tip is overnight protection. Something that is literally so simple but so overlooked, protecting your hair overnight. Okay, so most people just focus on their daytime routines, which is fine, the products, the styling, the washing, but then they just completely forget that we literally spend a third of our lives sleeping. So what exactly happens to your hair during those hours? The tossing and turning at night that you are doing is damaging your hair. Your hair rubs against the pillowcase. That constant friction weakens the cuticle layer. And of course, you're not going to notice it right away because it's not a dramatic snap like when you overbrush, but also because you're sleeping when it happens. Over time, that repeated friction creates tiny breaks at the end of your hair and split ends that stop you from ever reaching your goal length. So this is what I'm going to call invisible breakage because it is literally happening gradually while you're sleeping. And the fix is surprisingly easy. So you can switch to a satin or silk pillowcase. It's going to instantly reduce the friction because the surface is smooth and it's not catching on your hair the way that cotton does. Cotton actually acts like literal sandpaper on your hair strands because it pulls moisture out and it roughs up the cuticle, which is why so many people wake up with tangles and frizz when they sleep on cotton. But satin and silk help your hair glide instead of snagging so that you wake up with smoother ends, fewer knots to detangle, which is another reason why it can really mess up your hair and your growth to sleep on cotton. You can also put it in a low bun or a low braid or a super high bun, because this is going to, with a really soft scrunchie, this is going to help Another option is securing your hair loosely before you go to bed, so you can do a low bun, a braid with a satin scrunchie, a high bun. This is going to create even more protection because it is going to keep your hair from getting pulled around as much. You just have to make sure that it's not tight. And the goal here is to minimize tension while still keeping your hair contained overnight so that you're not tossing and turning on your hair. Now, some people even combine both, myself included, satin pillowcase and a satin scrunchie. And over weeks and months, that tiny habit adds up to way less breakage, fewer split ends, and a noticeable difference in how much length you can retain. So while it might feel like a small detail, you might be like, yeah, whatever. Protecting your hair overnight is really one of those things that separates people who can't seem to grow past a certain length from the people whose hair keeps getting longer and healthier. It doesn't cost much, seriously. It takes almost no effort at all, and it is literally one of the easiest ways that you can it's one of the easiest ways to make sure your hair actually holds on to all the progress that you have made with your healthy hair care routine from during the day. Now, the fifth tip. So strengthen and repair your hair. So almost everyone focuses on hydration. And yes, moisture is crucial. It really is. But if all you ever do is hydrate, your hair will eventually feel soft on the outside, but weak on the inside, which makes it a lot more sensitive to breakage. And people don't realize that weakness in the hair fiber is one of the biggest reasons that their hair never gets past a certain length, because you're basically making it extra sensitive to damage. Now, your hair is made up of keratin proteins that are held together by bonds, and those bonds are constantly being stressed by daily life, washing, brushing, heat styling, even literally just environmental exposure like the sun and the wind. Tossing on your pillow, okay? Anytime you do any of those things, some of those protein bonds weaken or break. And if you never rebuild them, your hair might look okay for a while. Eventually, it's going to start to snap. It's going to start to split, even if you are moisturizing like crazy, okay? So that is where protein and bond repair treatments really come in. So products like K18, Olaplex, other bond strengthening masks, they don't just sit on top of the hair to make it feel nice. They actually work on a molecular level, literally inside the hair strand, to rebuild or reinforce those broken bonds. So you can think of it like fixing the scaffolding of a building. Okay, so if the structure is literally falling apart, painting the outside is not going to help. Speaking from experience here, so that's what these treatments really do for your hair. The key here, though, is balance. Too much protein, your hair is going to feel stiff. It is going to feel straw-like, brittle. Too much moisture, it's going to feel limp, it's going to feel gummy and overly stretchy. But the magic happens when you alternate between the two. Most weeks, stick with hydration focused masks just to keep flexibility in your routine. But once a week or every other week, if your hair is finer, you can bring in the bond repair treatment. My favorite is K18, and that balance of strength plus softness is really what keeps hair resilient enough to withstand daily life and to still hold on to length. And here is something that most people don't think about. So every little snap or micro break your hair experiences, they add up over time. So you might not notice one strand breaking in the shower or one split end here and there, but if you multiply that by weeks, by months, suddenly you have lost literally inches of potential length without even realizing it. Strengthening treatments stop that hidden damage before it even builds up, which is what makes the difference between hair that feels stuck at shoulder length and hair that finally grows down to your back, okay? And hair that finally grows down your back. I've personally noticed that when I'm consistent with bond repair, specifically K18. Okay, I'll make another video on why I stopped using Olaplex. My trims are way fewer in between. My hair doesn't feel unhealthy. My ends don't feel thin. It actually feels healthy as it gets longer. So it's not about tricking your hair into growing faster, you guys. This is about creating conditions where it does not break before it reaches its full potential. The results that you're going to get from this, we are talking long hair, okay? What everyone wants who are watching this video, Those are the healthy hair growth tips that I feel like no one really talks about, but they are the exact habits that have helped me to protect my length, and to finally get my hair past the stage where it always used to stall. The truth of this whole thing here is long healthy hair does not come from one miracle product. It comes from stacking up small, smart habits that add up over time. So I want you guys to comment below, which one of these tips are you going to try first? Or if you are already doing some of them, which one has made the biggest difference for your hair? Leave a comment below, because I actually do want this to be more of a conversation. We can literally all learn from each other's routines and experiences. And although I like to sit up here and pretend like I know everything about hair, there are some things that I don't know. So fill us in the comments. Healthy hair is a journey for sure, and I am going to keep bringing you tips, hacks, and honest advice just to make this journey easier for you guys. So with the right care, your hair will grow longer. It will go stronger, shinier than you think possible, but you just have to know like what to do in order to get it there. And okay, the last thing, you have to be consistent. Okay, I should have made this its own entire step here. Consistency is key. If you just use K18 once, if you just use, the Dreame, if you just use a silk pillowcase once and then you go back to everything every other time, it's literally not going to do a single thing. Okay, be consistent. That is all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you guys next time.